Oh, that's really good resolution. Woodshed by Dan. Welcome, man. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. It's really good resolution. Sorry about the feedback. All right. Woodshed by Dan. Welcome. Good morning. Freezing out here. Freezing. So, second here. Put my mic down, get a sip of water so I have a hydration for the beginning of this thing with all the salt around. I think Miss Heather's in there, bud, but she's also like working. Oh, there she is. There she is. All right. So I got a process I want to do. This is a little on the right side here. It's not too bad, but this fat needs to come off. But I first got to clear the salt kind of. Can't scrape this. It'll mess my tools up. It'll mess the hide up and the grain side up if I don't clear the salt off first. But it's going to get kind of a waste because it's going to get resalted again, right? So first thing I'm going to do, I might even stick it into that ice cream bucket to remove or what do you call it? Dissolve the salt. Because I want to scrape this, and my bone scraping tool, ladies and gentlemen, the scraping tool that I made out of that what do you call it, the cannon bone scraping tool I made. I didn't even know what scraping was until I made that. So now I'm happy I got a good scraping tool. I'm going to be going crazy scraping stuff. Hope I didn't just hurt the grain there. I don't think I did. It was kind of softened up. All right, so you can kind of see now there's lots of fat here. We're going to scrape at that. Maureen, welcome. All right, so this is a scraping tool that I made from a cannon bone. And I believe this was the one I used yesterday. It was working so well. It may have been the other part, though, the one I didn't prepare. Yeah, you see how you can hear it, right? And what we don't want when we dry it is we don't want, and I have a bucket down here to kind of catch the schmutz. What we don't want is we don't want grease burn. When that is, when fat sometimes sits on the skin, it will deteriorate the skin. I think that happens more in hot temperatures, but you know, fast forward a few months, that might happen here. Yes, always keep him busy here. This is what we do. And viewer discretion always is advised. Yesterday they made me demonetize my video, so please, if you don't like this stuff, feel free to scroll, please, and you know, get out of my face, because YouTube is not a vegan platform. No offense, but y'all can fuck off. Sorry, advertising people who haven't paid me any money. Anyway, not going to get mad. I'm enjoying myself doing this, but I'm not going to tolerate that stuff. So if people are in here questioning the whole animal processing thing, it's probably best that since they have the option of being here, they go somewhere else, because I'm going to stop demonetizing my videos. I'm going to start fighting back. It's frustrating me. Oh yeah, that works so well, guys. Look at the amount of material that took off. Not trying to gross anybody out. Working super good. Mainly off grid. Welcome, man. Welcome. Got you something dead for Christmas. I guess we can lean into it, Heather. For all those folks who were telling me to push, not pull, I guess you all were right. Told you so is in order. You know, it works. This bone tool, I don't have any knife that works as well as this. So psyched to finally have something that can scrape. Somebody asked me, do I have a fleshing knife? I think it was Michael, actually. Michael Osborne. I'm up there in North Dakota. Did I have a fleshing knife? Troll's gonna troll, haters gonna hate. You know, it's engagement, really. I'm gonna tell you, I told Miss Heather a little bit ago, part of the reason I pivoted away from, oh no, glad that didn't hit the floor, guys. Make sure I didn't get any salt in there. Part of the reason, and I'll clip it undersized. Uh-oh, I got a message from my son's school. Kind of wish they didn't send me those during the day. I'm like one of those parents that you shouldn't message during the day. I message their day up. Hope everything's all right. All right, what was I gonna say? Oh, part of the reason I kind of pivoted a little bit away from woodwork is it's so judgy, man, and everybody is talking about you should use this tool. Dude, there's a million ways to do things. There's a million ways to do woodwork. To sit there and talk about this person in the safety trolls and all of this stuff, oh my gosh. But you have that everywhere. I was just kind of tired of it. I'm tired, and I'll be back. I'm sure I'll be back to that stuff. Woodworking is like part of me. So nobody said, oh, you do stuff for 5 seconds. I didn't learn how to timber frame a bunk bed doing woodwork for 5 seconds, okay? I didn't just quit it. I've been doing woodwork for a long ass time, a lot longer than some folks who have criticized me. So I'm pivoting away purposely and deliberately. Thomas Mumby just subscribed, and are you making Daniel Boone hat? You know, it's a consideration. A coonskin cap. It's a consideration. That's just not something I want that much. I think I want to use these raccoon pelts for like real warmth, like potentially gloves or mittens. I don't know yet. I definitely if Mike is making stuff pops in here, he sent me the pattern for Daniel Boone hat. Thomas Mumby. So great question, actually, Thomas. I got to give you that. Right now, I'm just trying to prep these raccoon hides and make sure that I can preserve the hair without using chemicals, right? Normally, hair would be preserved on these by adding chromium and tons of alum and stuff. I added some food-grade alum, and I'm trying to make sure my beam is turned down so I don't get a lot of criticism from the tanners out there. Uh-oh. Usually means I missed something. So happy with how this bone is working out to scrape with. Oh, hey. How you doing? Hold on 1 second, guys. Get a sip of coffee. Coffee is really hot. You want any more? Yeah, let me have one more sip. Best part of waking up. Sorry, y'all. I needed a sip of the old coffee. Sometimes Miss Heather comes to save me from myself. Save me from myself. Y'all like that? You ever met a guy working on animal skins? I am going to tell you, I feel like the bone was designed to do this. It's crazy. Feels to me like the bone was designed to do this. None of the knives I have do this job properly. Woodshed by Dan said, as far as knowing how to process hide, this is all new to me. Great. I have a New Zealand possum pelt on my wall. Yeah, you guys down there in New Zealand, Australia, one of the only animals I think that y'all can. Are you in New Zealand, Thomas? One of the only animals I know you guys could harvest is the possum. So I know, and down there they're a little. I have a possum. Do I have a possum? Nah, because I feed the possum here. I don't kill the possums, but I do have a muskrat. Possums are great pelts. I watched Alone, the Australian edition of Alone, where they're in Tasmania, and the lady came with a possum fur on. Blown away, dude. I was like, wow, that's really great fur. She and her Aboriginal friend, First Nations friend, I guess is what you guys say now. They're now Aboriginal anymore. First Nations friend built this pelt out of like 70 some possums. But let me know, Thomas, if you're over there in New Zealand, because I'm curious about that. I'm pretty sure that the hunting regulations down there are pretty firm. One of the only animals you can either trap or hunt is the possum. Well, it's a little, I think it's a little looser in Australia. They can hunt kangaroos sometimes, and they have deer down there. You guys have red deer in New Zealand. I don't know if you can hunt those. They look similar to axis deer. Really pretty deer with spots on them. One of the deer species you guys have there. See, I prefer not to pull this away because I don't want to take too much off, but it may come off for me. The raccoon hide has a lot of fat on it, and so you have to process it a little bit more, is my understanding. I don't have a lot of experience, but I do understand that is what you have to do. I'm going to try to get my finger up under here. I did not. I did not get my finger under there. These gloves don't help either. I actually rather do this stuff by barehanded, but it's too salty. It'll mess my fingers up. And we'll scrape from there. Can y'all see that whole thing? Let me see. Niku225. What work job is this? This would be considered furrying or tanning. That's the type of job that this is. Fair question. Just as long as the follow-up questions come in fair. Yeah. So y'all can see what I'm doing over there. I did not kill any of these animals either. Let me put that on the record and into the algorithm. At least these ones. I have a deer pelt of an animal I euthanized, but did not hunt, and I'm not trapping these. About as ethical as it gets, man. But I would if I needed to, guys. I'm not like saying I'm against that stuff, because I'm not. I'm not against hunting. I'm not against trapping as long as it's done ethically. Far more dirty things are going on in our food production process by far than there is in the hunting and trapping game. I can tell you that. Of course, you need to always be safe and cautious. I can feel that hide fat scraping off now. No, not to gross anyone out. If you're here, welcome. I'm not trying to scare anybody. If you are here and you have some issues with animal processing, keep scrolling, because that's what we're doing here today. And I understand this is not for everyone. Totally understand that. Fully understand. I actually respect a vegan, right? They're probably just going to scroll. Ew, I'm going to scroll right past it, right? Somebody who actually eats meat who criticizes, then I got a problem with that, because you're eating stuff that's way crueler than what we're doing here. There's not even a comparison. This part right here, I don't want to scrape at this. This is too thick. Let's take some of the excess there. I also have a bunch more pelts to scut. I have one that's been in tanning solution for a day that I wanna scrape too, because I don't feel like it. That's a muskrat pelt, and this is a raccoon, as I said a minute ago. I'm not so like psyched about how I pulled that skin up. It looks kind of bad right there, but generally, the one raccoon pelt I've done before this is in bad shape. So, I mean, I'm trying to fix it. I think there's a certain amount of like flexibility you have. Y'all see the schmutz is kind of going up towards the edge there. That's what you're trying to do here. kind of got it. You can't be scared with it. It's not made of glass. The collagen is really strong. The skin is strong. You do have to respect it, but the skin is strong. That's right. Niku said hunting is one of the first jobs on earth. That's right. We have separated ourselves as human beings from a lot of the things that we depended on for most of our existence on the planet. And we've started depending on things that we have not depended on for a long time and seem to be letting us down in a lot of ways. And I'm not anti-progress or technology. I'm not. I'm all about progress. I like air conditioner, you know, I really do. I hate it when it gets too hot. But the fact is that everything that we're using, like everything is so sanitized. Everything is sanitized. Everything you see, everything you hear. Most people never seen a dead body in their whole lives except for in a funeral home. That, imagine how different that is from like our ancestors' lives. That's all of our ancestors, not just First Nations in whatever country. That is everybody. We all were Stone Age people. We're all Homo sapiens sapiens. So there's no difference between the ancestry we have, you know, except for politics now. Remove national borders from the picture, right? Here's a good one. When the Jamestown people came in the 17th and even in the 16th century, they looked down on the Native Americans or First Nations people in the U.S. for using stone tools and so forth. Looks like I may have damaged the grain right there, so I'm a little bit wary of that. They looked down on First Nations people for using stone tools. But there were people like Opakankanu, who was the leader, the werewolves of the Pamunkey in Virginia, up near Richmond, kind of. He lived to be over 100 years old, man. He lived to be a very old man. You're criticizing people whose lifestyle is actually leading to, and their average lifestyle there in England, and you can look it up. What's the average lifestyle in the 17th century, average lifespan in England in the 17th century? I would guess not much more than 50 at the very most. That would be the far extent of what I would say. I don't like what happened here. But I appreciate you. Thank you. I'm going to make sure I go after your name. Oh, man, it's in French, too. Beautiful name. Baye Duye Agu Koi. Man, I wish I could pronounce that, but it's French. I'm going to call you BDACB because my French pronunciation is probably worse than any of my other pronunciation. But bienvenue, welcome. And thank you for being here, and your appreciation is appreciated. Oh, you're Irish. Okay. This is the name. And so, oh, it's in Irish? That's even harder than French. That's even a harder language. And with this raccoon, what I tried to do was the other day I processed the tail, opened the tail up so that we could preserve some of it. I did pull at it though. The patterns I'm looking at for raccoon skin hats are, they show a lot of tail there, but my experience is that the end of the tail is very hard. You got to be really delicate with your knife to get the end. I'll try it next time. But what you get is about 3/4 of any animal's tail before it pulls off the tip. The tip is like attached by stronger tissue. What I did the other day was take a dowel. Once I formed a pocket in there, and I put the dowel into the tail and moved it around, kind of like the way you clear the skin away from a buck's skull near the what do you call those? The antler burrs. So the way you get the antler burrs away from the skin is by putting like a screwdriver. Yeah. Hey. Oh, is Luke? Okay, I was about to bring up Luke, so I'm glad I didn't. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't say Luke. This guy, we have this other Irish guy we hang out with. It is Luke. So glad to see you, Luke, man. Thank you for being here. all the way from Dublin. The Irish language, highly impressive language, very, very difficult language to speak. Many Americans might not even know there is an Irish language. That's how disconnected we are. I did tell the story the other day though to Luke about when the stuff happened in the mid '90s. There was a lot of violence in Belfast, and the kid came and lived with me for the summer. That was different, man. And there were Catholic and Protestant kids too, so it was a mixture of both groups, and we all got together for these big parties. Some of them even knew each other from back home. Shout out to Ivan wherever you're at, buddy. Maybe he'll see one of these days. And also the end that I filed down to a tip, a very dull tip, also works if you're trying to get like a piece of tissue off in a pinch. Like you're not able to get a little tough piece of tissue off, you just turn that piece around and it won't scratch through the hide. Though it looks like I may have scratched something here. That looks like a knife cut though. I mean, you make mistakes with this. I think probably after years and years of experience, people probably get to a point where they can move right through one of these quickly. Baladu Aga. It's Luke. But Luke, you know, that is a great thing that you're offering, man. A valuable skill. I think they would definitely have to be able to hear you to know that language, to learn that language. We appreciate you being so friendly, man. I love having people from all over the world in here. We're one group of people, man, and not even to sound corny. We're all the same, dudes. I'm gonna tell you, the fat that comes off of this hide reminds me of brain tissue. So I'm not trying to gross you guys out, but I'm learning all kinds of stuff. You see the consistency? It's like cottage cheese-ish. That's the way that brain tissue is. So if you ever wondered, that's like the way it is. It's like the subdermal fat on this animal. Very similar. Here's another thing, like people eat animal products made from animal skins and animal bones like every day. There's gelatin in so much, and people don't acknowledge that this is coming from bone meal, basically, right? I think knowing what I ate was like my first thing. Like I have celiac disease, so I kind of have to know what I'm eating, right? But before even that, I was aware of the ingredients and the things I was eating. There was a period when I was a kid I couldn't honestly eat gelatin because I found out it was made out of animal bones. I was like, gross. Why are we eating a fruit dessert made out of animal bones, right? But then after a while, I was like, okay, gelatin's all right. They use it for capsules. You take your vitamins, they're in a gelatin capsule. Whatever. There's lots of meat products, and even if you're trying to avoid them and you're not reading up on what you're eating and consuming, you're probably consuming meat products from the meat industry too, not from individual safe people who are responsibly doing things, from the meat industry. And when business, as I said the other day on my live stream, when business gets a hold of things, they ruin it. Exactly what they do. You want it to get ruined, let big business get a hold of it. I can give you an example, but it's a little bit controversial, so I'll keep it to myself. Like most agricultural products, right? Most plants, the genetics are controlled by one company, and I don't want to get killed for saying stuff, so I'm going to keep that company's name inside my head. Many of you probably know what that company is. I'm not against business, but I do not think people should be allowed to own the genetics of a plant. I have a problem with that. My parents, one of their first jobs when they got out of college, I think, was going and snitching on people who were reseeding their fields with their own seeds. And because my parents were so brainwashed by ag, they actually had no idea what they were doing was terrible. Basically, what they were doing was catching people who were reseeding their fields with their own seeds that they produced through breeding the crops that they got, some of which came from Monsanto-based companies, right? Or from seed companies like Trojan and these other companies that are really just small subsidiaries of the company I just mentioned that starts with an M. Literally, that company scares me. I'll talk about almost anybody, but they're so powerful. I'm actually scared to talk trash about them. Mike is making stuff is in the house. Pioneer Seed, that's one of them also. Yep. That's one that's also owned by the same company. Mike said, disclaimer, the opinions expressed by the Mike is making stuff profile do not represent the opinions of Dad's Workshop. I think Mike wants to separate his opinions from mine. That's fine. I'll own my stuff since this is my intellectual property here. I will own the stuff that I say. The reason I said that is because Lion said that yesterday, and I thought it was awesome. He's like, this is my intellectual property. I was like, awesome. I'm going to say that. I'm going to steal that, Lions. So, yeah, I will own what I say here. And, Monsanto can come hunt down a guy who gets paid barely anything and runs a live stream where he scrapes the flesh off of hides, or they can come after somebody who's really a threat to them. Actually, I think they've eliminated most of those threats. It's like Goliath, like a real life version of Goliath. I don't know if you've seen that show, little Goliath reference. We have DTs in the house. Yes, Thomas Mumby said, so they want to keep a monopoly on seeds. That is absolutely correct. They want a monopoly on all agricultural, all seeds, the genetics therein also. They can run a genetic test and find out if you're using a seed that's been bred with the seeds that they say they control the genetics to. They actually have proprietary rights to the genetics inside of their seeds. At least they have legal proprietary. I feel like they don't have moral rights to those, but they have legal rights to them. So that being said, what they do is they find out when companies have their genetics in their breeding. And the problem, herein lies the problem. There are groups of Native Americans, or what called First Nations people, in the Southwest, desert Southwest, that have heirloom corn varieties that have never been touched by the pollen of Western or other corn, or genetically engineered corn, or Monsanto. And it is possible, and it has happened, where Monsanto's pollen has blown in the breeze and ended up in their fields. And so they have ended up with corn, not because they did anything, but because the pollen infected their corn with the genetics from what I just mentioned, right? So now the company can come after them saying, you used our genetics in your breeding, but in reality, they didn't. They actually were trying to avoid it the whole time. Yup. The most powerful company you've never heard of. They're a DT. A real life behemoth in agriculture. So like everything you eat, man, all the corn-based products you eat would be, it's like impossible to farm without them. They are literally the monopoly in like corn, and probably soybean seeds too, to be honest. Roundup Ready corn, it's called. They find everyone that don't plant their seed. That's right. Guy Sarenko. That's right. Oh, Ake Kuanu said, where do I start? Hey, start wherever you feel. If you didn't laugh, you have no soul. Well, yeah, to a certain extent. So many people have been punished by it, man, regular old people. Like I said, my parents did that too. They don't have any qualms with saying that was something that they did coming out of my boat. My dad graduated from agriculture school. He was a Actually, we'll call him a high-level agricultural official. Let's call him that. That work? I'm glad y'all don't have that company there, DT. But are you in England? I bet y'all do. I bet they've taken over there too. I would not. I can't believe Monsanto would just stop at the U.S. I bet they're multinational. Actually, I don't even know if they started in the U.S. to be quite frank. Probably, but I'm not sure. Whenever I get into this, my dad starts arguing with me. Oh, Monsanto. Yeah, they got millions of names. Love my dad. Shout out, Dad. But yeah, my dad would argue for them. So glad he's not here. We don't know what you're talking about, Calvin. Okay. All right. Well, all you know is what they're talking about. Funny how the hippie generation, like the boomers and stuff, they like they they were like, oh, we don't trust anything you say, big government. You're terrible. We don't trust you. And then when they had kids, they're like, oh, well, maybe you should trust big government a little bit. Their tune changed, right? Yeah, government in and of itself. I'm gonna go Ron Swanson on that. I'm not. I do not believe in libertarianism, but yeah, I do believe that. Like, you know, probably the least amount of government you could have with still having essential services is probably best. If that's kind of a cop out of an answer though. But I won't get too political. I'm getting into the realm of politics there, rather than pragmatics and like morals, which is what I was kind of on to start out with. I don't care right wing, left wing, whatever it is, as long as it's the right, the correct solution or the right thing to do that doesn't punish your average Joe and doesn't enrich in billionaires. Being a billionaire, sorry, people are going to hate me for saying this. If you are a billionaire, right, you are actually starving people to death, right? Your wealth is taking from the domestic product of some company, some country. And so there are people who are starving on your back if you're a billionaire. If you don't give away your money and you hold on to and maintain billions of dollars, you literally are part of the problem and people are starving on your back. That is just a fact. It's not opinion. It's not opinion. Somewhere between Dallas and Phoenix, Delado is. Oh man, Thomas Mumby, our best days, unfortunately. I mean, I don't want to be negative. Hopefully, we have our best days ahead of us, right? I'm not trying to be a negative Nelly or a Debbie Downer or any of those other rhyming negative things. But yeah, we definitely like when we invented Levi's, they were awesome, right? But now they suck. McDonald's was really good to start too. I can't even eat McDonald's anymore, but uh, my understanding is like everything in the world is McDonaldized now. So even when I went to England in 1999, there was already McDonaldized. I think I was in Stratford upon Avon to go see Shakespeare's birthplace, and there was like a McDonald's and a KFC. K can K can KNU. Yeah. So, I don't really care about politics. I kind of got out of working in a general sense because I don't want to have a job that requires that I think some way politically. Like I used to be the vice president of the union and stuff, you know. Like I don't want to have a political opinion because the other people around me need me to have it. I don't want to have an opinion because I need my paycheck. My paycheck requires that opinion, right? If I am only voting my paycheck and not thinking about the overall moral implications of what I'm talking about, then I don't need, yeah, you can vote and you're entitled that right to vote here in the US, but I don't really want to hear your opinion, right? Like if your interest is in self and you try to masquerade it with something else, like your interest is like like many other people in power, if you make it seem like you are in favor of a certain right because it's the right thing, but in reality you're a billionaire and it enriches you and your oligarchic cronies, then the fact is that you don't care about what the actual issue is. What you care about is profiting from it. I want to use an example so bad, but I shouldn't. What you have to do, man, is if you are a politician, and I think in some cases some of them end up, uh, man, that's really generous for me to say this. Some of them end up thinking the right way eventually. You would think that we always hear the term career politician and stuff like that, and we're like, oh, he's a career politician, and they do stuff most of the time that's like self-preservatory or whatever. But occasionally they'll do something, and I'll be like, all right, they've been in office a long time, they got enough money, that's the right thing to do, right? But I think in general they're self-serving. Their goal is to stay in office and have you vote for them because they get great benefits. They got a great benefits package, Everyone I've ever heard in my entire life, their whole thing was about their kids going to college. Right? Hey, Lions, welcome, welcome, welcome. It was always about, I got to do this so that my kids can go to college. I even see this with my own family. Cutthroat, man. I'm like, man, my sister, other people, she's not watching, so I don't have to worry about that. Like, I see them so suburban, so cutthroat. Like, don't you realize that, like, getting into a good college actually means next to nothing? Plenty of kids get into good colleges and end up with issues. Many, what is the graduation rate? It's really bad, guys. It's a bad situation. Skills are really good to learn. Learn some skills. I can, let me go back a second. Welcome, Lions. Anybody else who popped in the chat, welcome, welcome. Yeah, man, a lot of spoons getting carved. Lion said, nice spoon, Mike. Lots of spoons. Spoon man. That's what I was saying yesterday on that chat. Come together with your hands. I'm together with you. I need my guitar, man. Bust out another talent. It's like liposuction. Yeah, with the raccoon because they're fatty. I'm trying to get this tissue right here off the neckline. I took it a little higher on the neck. Every animal, it seems like, has this really tough tissue on the neck. I'm learning more about it as I process more animals. But right around the neck, the muscle tissue there does not want to free away from the neck. So if you're processing an animal, prepare yourself. That's value right here. Prepare yourself for the idea that the neck of the animal is going to be difficult to flesh. So the more neck you take, prepare yourself for a more difficult job. I took a buck the other day and fleshed this buck, and I spent so much time on the neck. It took me like 3 hours to skin this animal because I was struggling with trying to flesh the neck and pull the hide away from the neck so bad. It took me a long time, and it was freezing cold. Plus, there was an animal growling at me from the woods. All right. I don't know if anybody's experienced that. Luke said, Palato Creations, hello to you. Luke waving at you from Dublin, Ireland. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Roy. I did it in Luke's voice. Lions, I can't do his voice as well. Nice, Mike. It'll look great when it's been used for a while. Miss Heather said, wow, body shaming the raccoon. No, I'm not, Miss Heather. The raccoon, all raccoons have fattier tissue. Palato said, hi, Luke. Lions Fixes Shop said, hey, Luke. AKK said, died rich. Wes Does It said, the fuck? I got no notifications. See, they're trying to silence me. YouTube is trying to silence me. But you can't silence me, YouTube. They tried to demonetize my video from Saturday too. I will not be silenced. And I didn't even put out but this video. So this is my only YouTube piece within the last couple of days. So there's no way I used up my notifications, so to speak, as they've said before. I will not be silenced, YouTube. Well, that helped a lot with the tissue. This stuff on the neck, I'm going to let the salt work on that some more. But actually, it's looking a lot better. You got to scrape, scrape, scrape. And that bone is what's working the best for scraping. I'll resalt this thing again. My guy says you can always start over. Well, the cool thing about these pellets is that, and I want to make sure this is dry too. So I might actually salt it and then brush out the hair. Also, another tip that was given to me. Salt it and brush the hair out and get it dry, because the bacteria that want the hair to slip, they thrive in wet conditions. Not soaking wet, but wet. One of these pickling salts, I forget what company did it. Oh, it's that one. Pilato says he hopes Texas Tech pounds everyone on the way to the national title, because if they beat his team, he wants to know that that's only the best team that can beat his team. Am I right, Pilato? Guy Sorenko says, borax is what I used to use. I do use borax as well. That's more for bugs, though. And I did read the other day, I also have citric acid here that I've been using in the acid bath. This is just iodine, no iodine salt, or pickling salt with no iodine in it. Probably would help you too to go around and pull off the little fleshy stuff that you just scrape. Some of it kind of hangs around the edges. Get this stuff all the way to the edge and be liberal with your application, not conservative. Don't be conservative with your application of the salt is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about your politics. I don't care. Like I said, stop equating everything to politics, imaginary person. Everybody wants to get in a club fight now. Everybody wants to brandish a truncheon. Everybody wants to go out and brandish a truncheon and get into a good old-fashioned, what do you call it? What's an old term for fights? Get into an old-fashioned row. Get into a row. How do you use that word? Okay, Mike says, I'm biting. Mike, what is Lubbock Electric for? Why is Lubbock Electric? Oh, Guy Sorenko said, I used to buy pallets of salt. I used to buy and sell for a guy. I love how they're sending me the right people. Guy, welcome. I need all the knowledge that you can give me. Appreciate you being here. Hey, by the way, anyone who is in here, double tap that like. I got 50 likes according to my screen. What I just did was salt this, and it held pretty well. You can see it's a lot cleaner. That's what I want my pellets to look like right there. Much cleaner and less fat on there. I might squeeze out some of this excess moisture here. There is some damage possibility to the grain when it dries out if you squeeze it too much. Old Bull was telling me about that the other day. So I want to be careful and listen to the people who have the elders who have the knowledge. I want to listen to those people. I'm not here to ignore you. I know that this is something I don't understand and that you all have been doing many of you have been doing for your whole life. Okay? Respect. All kinds of respect. So maybe what I'll do for now, I'm going to roll this up. Maybe dry it out a little bit, and then I'll pin it back up when I'm ready. It's nice and stretched out, and I got a lot of the fat off, but I need to approach it from the other angle. That's why this is a process. Very laborious. We got a bunch of football talk. Yep. Thank you, Sorenko. Guy Sorenko. Welcome, Guy Sorenko. I'm going to put this aside here for a minute. I want to scrape this pellet too. This is one of the antlers I got from like the 12-point buck that I had, or 10-point buck. It had a couple of odd antler tips on it. This looked like one of the cooler. I got a couple racks in here. I don't think this is where it hit the road because I've scraped these against the road and never seen that before. You see that little edge right there? I think he was just very active, man. I have his pelt around here. I think it's actually in brine right now. But this animal, just look at the impressive antlers on this guy. You could see he's been stuck by um, other bucks. So he was a dominant buck. It's sad that he got hit. All right, so let's go. Even when the rice is slightly burned, you could save it because the salt removes the burnt taste a bit. Good call on that. Pin it up, fur in, or not fur in. Yeah, I'm gonna pin it up in just a minute. AKK said my mom taught me a lot. Yeah, let that sit, scrape it off. Yeah, I'm gonna pin it back up on this one's this is willy nilly. This was a pregnant deer. I can get into that story, but it probably gross some people out. I want to go after the back of this one here. This is a male raccoon. See how much bigger it is? Probably the same type of issue. Then I have a raccoon pelt that's partially tanned. I got a bunch of work to do. I could sit on here all day and do this, but I try not to just burn out everyone on it. But I got to put another fur on that thing before the audience completely disappears. They gotta see that. Hey guys, look, it's an animal. This one's beautiful, man. I thought this was just the pelt on this guy is just so. This is a male. Try to save as much as possible. He has that little dappling, it's like checkered. Guys, Rinkle said, pin him the other way. All right, I'll flip him around, man. You know what you're talking about. I got to undo the nails on that guy, though. I have seen people pin them this way, but I respect the knowledge guy, and I'll flip them back around. Let me flesh this one a bit, though, first, because it's the same situation as last. Oh, this one's a little bit better. I'm going to wash the salt off so I don't damage the grain side here, and then scrape some of this fat. You see these pockets of fat here. They can cause grease burn. Guy might back me up on that. So we'll rinse this guy off real quick, and I'll scrape it, and then I'll go on to furs that are in the tanning solution. I made 2 trash cans as was advised to me the other day. One trash can is for vinegar brine solution, and the other trash can has tannins in it. So don't wash it off, scrape it off. But the problem is, man, it's got salts. I don't want to mess the grain off. I know there's different ways to do this. Here, I get what you're saying, but you see the rock salt on it. It's got a coarser salt on it. If I do that and I mess this grain up, I'm gonna regret it. That's my only thing. I just don't. I respect that. I'm afraid I'll damage that. I'll scrape it, man. We'll give it a shot. I'll listen to your advice. I have not done this my whole life, so I got to humble myself here. All right, here we go. Doing it the way Guy says. Where's my bone tool? This was I was working on this on Mike's live the other day. It actually kind of only coincidentally worked out. It's like the non-sharpened side that works the best, I think. Y'all hear that though? Sounds perfect. It's what you want it to sound like. Tremendous amount of fat on this animal. You can almost render this stuff off for torches, probably. How many people use torches anymore, though, right? All right. Scraping it. I might actually make a bucket of this fat right here and render it for fire starters and stuff like that. Fat makes great fire starter. I'm sure somebody else in here will back me up on that. You know what? I got my bucket here. What I want to do is I want to keep this rendered fat here for like fire starting and potentially, if it's nice enough in your hands, you could use it to oil the hides probably. Well, Luke says, well, it's time for me to go, but you all mind yourselves out there and don't do anything that I wouldn't do. Luke from Dublin, Ireland, bidding you all a lovely evening and catch you all again. Calvin, keep doing what you're doing, brother. Thanks for hanging out, Luke. We appreciate it, man. Sorry for the terrible Irish accent. I started strong and ended weak. But I'm on the spot, man. You know, I'll have to work on my Irish accent. And maybe you can actually teach me some real Irish, which is not just an accent, it's a language. Respect. This stuff's coming off like lard. Y'all see? It's almost moldable. Yummy. You know, when I was building this rail for the bed, and I was like, man, what a shame. It doesn't work as a rail. You know, I would have never thought it would have turned out such a good fleshing beam. Bye, Luke. Appreciate you, man. This is Melanie Rivera. Melanie, this is a raccoon pellet. Oh, I hope I didn't just poke through right there. It is pretty thick. This is a male. I was just working on the female. I don't trap, at least not at the moment. I have some of the fundamentals, but I don't do it per se. Oh, look at that. That's coming off easy. Yeah, if I can kind of pull it away, I don't need to scrape at it forever. You do want to scrape the edges out though. Kind of like if you're ironing a shirt, you want to push the seams out. Small woodlot Pat said, "Did I make stew from the meat? The meat for this animal was not proper for human consumption. I didn't hunt or trap this animal, and I would also be careful because tainted meat from raccoons are one of the highest carriers of rabies. So there's only a couple ways. I guess if you cook it, can you cook rabies out of meat? You got to be careful. I stayed away from the brains. I usually take the brains from the animal. I stayed away from them for that reason. So I did not make stew out of this. I have never eaten raccoon or any kind of small. Well, I've eaten squirrel. I've eaten rabbit. I've never eaten raccoon. I've eaten bear. I've eaten moose. Never eaten rabbit or never eaten raccoon. Though Xavier Leggett from the Carolina Panthers says that it's his favorite meat. So shout out Xavier Leggett. I took the legs with this one, though. On any animal, the legs are kind of a thinner tissue. Oh, I have dogs crying at the door. Of course I do. Woodshed by Dan said, okay, y'all, I have to get ready for work. See you all great people another time. See you later, Woodshed by Dan. Tana Shelley said, sick. Of course, I don't know what they mean, but maybe it's sick, like gross. It's possible. I could see that. I'm going to stick to the body for the most part here and kind of go after those legs. Actually, they're pretty critical. They need to be scraped. In the positive. All right, Tana. Yeah, we don't. That's all right. You can say all sick. I get it. I'm jumpy because I've been of the folks that have been in here who have been critical. So I get jumpy. I'm a little jumpy. What do you mean sick? What do you mean? Thank you for sparing me going off on a diatribe about how animal products are in everyday. Everybody uses animal products who's not conscious of what they use. He already punched a hole in right there. So this leg is, I'm not going to throw it away. I try to save everything because, like, my understanding is even fouled up skins can be recovered and saved. This is just, you just do this some every day. Like, seems to be a process you have to repeat. My friend does taxidermy art. So, yeah, that's it. I watched a video where these girls, like up in New York or some metropolitan area, were taxidermying animals. I was like, man, New York has changed. This bone right here, this is the ankle bone or the cannon bone from a deer, a young deer. This bone works really well for scraping. I filed it down when I was on, well, actually, I was on Mike's live stream the other night, shooting the poop, Friday nights, 8 o'clock Central, I believe. 9 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock. No. 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. I was on his live stream and forgot completely what I was saying. Gone. It's gone out of my head. Oh yeah, I was making this knife out of this scraping tool out of a cannon bone. You want these edges to come out too. This is where it all like wants to gather up. What I was thinking the other day was you could probably make buttons out of this bone that are reasonably decent buttons, right? Rather than using plastic. Plastic's horrible for the earth, guys. So it takes a certain dullness. Like, I guess this is kind of a trick because my knives before were not doing this well, but then I got this bone scraped to a certain dullness. It's not even sharp, but it takes that fat and the flesh off so well. I'm like, all right, I got my tool, you know? I don't even really need a fleshing knife. Small Woodlot said, a friend of mine went hunting in Maine, got a buck, and was driving home through New York, got pulled over, and all his frozen meat was confiscated and his scar was impounded. That can totally happen, dude. That can totally happen. What you need in that scenario, though, is you need your main tag to show the cop. And it's possible, though, when you pass through New York with that buck, that you need a New York tag. Like, it may have been what the problem was. Everyone gathering raccoon hats for Christmas, says Lions Fix It. Nah, you know, everybody kind of wants me to make a hat, and Mike sent me some forms for a hat, but I really I actually want this to be like something warmer, like even no, I guess a hat's super warm. I don't know. It's just because people will think it's a fake coonskin cap. Like, they won't really believe it's a real one. Even when I was a kid, I had fake ones that were made out of rabbit fur, you know? So they weren't real raccoon skin hats. At least I was told they weren't. Maybe they were. Maybe they didn't know. Nowadays, they're crap. So I just don't want someone to confuse my hat for something like that, you know? That would be my only reason not to do it. But it is Mike sent me the thing, and I would be lying if I didn't go through it and say, that would be nice. Also, if you took the tail and tucked it around the top of the hat, I think it would look good. Lions Fix-It Shop said, "You want to see the laws for hunting deer in this country? Super, super lot of red tape there, I bet." So yeah, so you got your buck in Maine. You need to have a tag for Maine, right? You process your buck. You take the meat. You keep the record that you hunted it in Maine. I don't think, because we have interstate commerce laws that would say that they can't tax you a second time for that, right? Because you're in the same country. I think maybe if I had a lawyer, if you have a lawyer, you should probably get away with getting your buck back. Now, if you hunted that buck illegally in Maine, first of all, watch out for Northwoods Law. They're after you. Tough guys up there. Even though his license was with him and all tags from Maine and his rifle was left in the state of Maine, he was charged with unlawful transportation of raw meat. I don't know how. I don't know how, because we have interstate commerce laws that prevent the government from being able to do stuff like that. Like, I'm quite sure, and I'm not a lawyer, like your marriage license, right? You don't have to get a new marriage license when you leave Maine and go to New York. They say, oh, you're illegally married. You two can't live, like in Virginia, you're not even allowed to live with someone you're not married with, technically, according to law. It goes back to puritanic background that we have. I'm not going to get into that. But the point is, the interstate commerce laws, the reason we didn't accept the Articles of Confederation, part of the reason we're not under the Articles of Confederation, is because that would have made it a whole bunch of little princelets, small countries. And so you would have to be careful passing from one part or province of the country into another. You'd have to pay more taxes. But that right there is an example of someone's civil rights constantly being violated. If he was lawfully hunting that deer in Maine, the meat should be able to be transported wherever. Like, if he had a lawful license to catch that deer and he had record of that, like, you sometimes got to show receipts, especially in New York. We know that. I don't know how that happened. That's crazy, Pat. That's some banana stuff. Small Woodlot said, okay, Small Woodlot said he is looking to recover his car and loss of meat. Yeah, absolutely. Should be some sort of a reparation for that. Lions Fix-It Shop said deer hunting in the UK is heavily regulated by the Deer Act of 1991 and requires a firearm certificate, landowner's permission, and following specific rules. Yeah, you guys have very stringent hunting laws. It's very elitist over there. Only the elite, and it's been like that since Middle Ages. Guys love coming to the U.S. back in the day from the old country, because they came over here and all of a sudden you can shoot deer and stuff that they wanted to do, but the rich boys could do. That's the only people could do it over there were the rich people. If you killed a buck in like King Henry's time, the buck was King Henry's. You were poaching. Nobody, I believe, in the entire realm, unless they had specific permission from the ruling apparatus, which is the king through his vassal lords, right? All of the lords and dukes, the dukes at the top, and then the people under that, right? If you didn't have their permission, which brought the permission from the king, then you were poaching every time even if you were on your own land, which actually England took a long time to even have private land ownership. So yeah, crazy, man. There are things that I don't like about the U.S., but I do like the fact that, like, it's the wilderness in a lot of ways, and like, you can still do that stuff. There's a lot of criticisms I have of the U.S., but that's not one of them. Like, making the hunting laws, and that's part of the reason dude had such a hard time going from Maine through New York. You just pass through the People's Republic of New York, man. You know, they're of course not going to let you take a deer through here. You know, it's just, why would he even? Man, drive the speed limit, I think, is the moral of that story. If you have the deer's head hanging out the back, generally they always say too, like, as a hunter, you want to be discreet and conceal your yeah, definitely hunting with dogs in England. Although they do duck hunting out there. I think they're allowed to have their cutesy little expensive hounds, and their fox hunts out there. Relatively recent, the fox hunt. That's more like 1700s. Still an English thing. I think they probably did it in other parts of Europe, but the fox hunt, that's a brutal thing right there. Just going to maul a fox. It's not really supposed to be recovered. The dogs just maul it to death. So there's nothing you actually get from it, except for, like, a landowner would have if they had a hen house or something or whatever, it would keep away from all of the little game they have on the property or their poultry or whatever. But fox hunts are strictly around brutalizing the fox, right? You get on a horse, you dress in a fancy costume, and you go with basset hounds and terrorize fox. You're not bringing the fox back. You're not using the fox. All you're doing is just having the dogs murder it. I think you can run into Roscoe P. Coltrane, said Pat said, who was just busting anyone from out of state. All his meat was already processed into ham, steaks, and much of the cap. That doesn't even make sense, man. He should definitely get a lawyer. His meat's probably gone. They should have taken it and put it in cold storage until the case was litigated. He should come up with a fair market value and freaking sue the jurisdiction in New York that he passed in. If his ducks weren't in a row, though, that might be why this situation happened. But you say you had a license and all that. Sometimes, I don't know, man. I was at a gas station one time, and this guy took my gas. Right? The guy at the register gave it to the wrong pump, and the guy pumped my gas. And instead of conversing with me about it, the guy who was working at the gas station pressed the police emergency button and called the cops on me. He gave my gas that I paid with cash, which you can go through cameras and watch, to another dude. And then when I was like, hey, my gas, and I looked in the window, he ignored me, and I came inside, and instead of talking to me, he pressed the police button. The police told me that I needed to leave the premises. That was my last $40. That's what I put in. I had no gas in my car. So imagine that happening. The law is not always in the right. So I'm with your friend. I had to leave without my gas that night, man. I had to beg friends to put gas in my car because the man took my money and then used the law as leverage against me. When I was waiting for my gas. I had no idea somebody would ever do something like that. It just blew my mind. Duck is purple, 3136. What do you call the process you're doing right now? Scudding. Or it's maybe just fleshing. Yep, king's deer. That's right. Yeah, that's the king's deer. Yep, that's right, man. All deer was technically. There's this great scene in Errol Flynn's Robin Hood where he comes in with a deer and slams it down in front of Prince John on the table. Like as a gift for the banquet that he's not invited to. Comes in with his merry men and slaps he's carrying like a buck over his shoulder. It's Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn's Robin Hood, movie from the 30s. I'm sure everybody here has seen it, There we go. This is what I mean about the edge of this bone. So I can tell you how I did this. I just took a cannon bone and split it, right? After I split it, I just filed it down. Now there's kind of a sharp edge here and then a dullish edge on this right here. This is a cannon bone from a younger deer, which is the lower ankle. And it works better as a scraping tool than any knife I have. And chisels don't work. I tried all kinds of stuff. Pieces of wood. Someone said, do you have a fleshing knife? And I was like, nah, I probably need one. I would like to have like Ron make me a fleshing knife, So one is made by somebody who's a crafts person instead of one of those plastic things. But Ron's busy, and I'm busy, so I got to get him at a time where he'll be willing to work on it and give him the right price that makes it worth his while to work on it. Hey, Plywood said, I need to go get some firewood, but he wanted to show that he's been a member for 4 months. Plywood, we appreciate your membership. We salute you, Plywood. Tom, also known as Tom. Appreciate you, Tom. Go ahead and get you some firewood. It's cold out here. Yeah, you got to have a lawyer, Pat, because that situation, that's a lawyer situation where you got someone basically looks like they kind of broke his civil rights in some ways. He had a legal right to hunt that deer and then process the deer and take it back, and he did everything right. And then because he was passing through a hostile state or whatever, that's what it seems like. They showed hostility to him and if he broke a traffic law, then you write him up for the traffic law. He lawfully had the deer with him. Did they call a game warden in and ask the game warden? Or did they just took him in and charged him? You throw another ticket in the car. Also wonder how he talked to the cop too. Some of that can affect that. But, like I said, sometimes you don't have to talk to them mean. It doesn't matter how nice you are, Yeah. It's basically you pass through a hostile state and they were frivolously they didn't deal with you in a reasonable manner, or the hunter, your friend, because if he broke a traffic law, the traffic law should be what's cited. If there's something in his possession that he got unlawfully, that's different. But the deer, if he presented his tags from Maine, then that's it. I mean, you have to actually when you get a deer nowadays, they don't have physical tags. You have to call in your tag numbers. I don't know if y'all know this or if you're hunters or not. But you have to call in tag numbers. So you don't get a physical tag anymore. I think this is a situation where having the physical tag around that deer's ankle or around your meat that said the game warden signed off on it, had a stamp on it. It's one of those situations where you wish you had that, because saying, oh, well, I called it in, so all I have is this call-in tag number from Michigan Fish and Game. Because every time you kill a deer or harvest a deer or a bear or even turkey, any kind of game, you are supposed to call, especially the large game. You have to check them in. Bear, you have to physically check in Virginia. So if you kill a bear, you have to actually go to a game warden station and physically have the bear checked. It's because people take too many baby bears and females, and you're not supposed to take either of those. So you have to physically check those, and then they put a tag on it. You take it home, right? Many people would field dress it there, get rid of the guts and stuff like that, and then take the carcass like that, field dressed, put the tag around the leg of it, and take it home. But again, not even a hunting expert, just telling you what I've known from reading and so forth. But definitely sounds like they were hostile to him, and it's unfortunate because it sounds like he did everything legally. That's all I can ask for people is to follow the laws. Now, I don't think anyone gives a crap about this, but like, I don't believe in going to Africa and shooting giraffes and elephants and endangered species. But here, there's a lot of deer in this country, and they get hit by cars a lot. Watch my live stream. You'll learn that. Hey, Rumpelstiltskin. Yeah. Lion said, haha, the cops are. Yeah. Shout out. We have a couple cops in this woodworking community. Not that I'm that close of friends with them, so honestly, don't really care. But yeah, some of them you don't even know they're cops. Like, they just masquerade around as regular people. Turns out they're cops the whole time. Just kidding. Cops are regular people sometimes. Yeah, we got some cops around here. Kind of just look for the douchiest people in our community, and then you can put two and two together. They're the cops. Nah, Lions. Don't worry about it. I don't care. I know exactly who the people are. I mean, I'm not even gonna put their names out there. Mike knows too. I'm not gonna blow their spot up. I'm actually kind of afraid because of some of these stuff they've done as cops. I mean, I'm aware of it. I'm not a dummy. I know how to read. So I've seen the stuff that some of these folks have done to people, and I actually don't want to say their name on here because I'm afraid of physical retaliation. I don't want to have to pull my pistol on somebody. I just like to live in peace. But yeah, definitely look for the douchiest ones, Lions. Those are the ones. living amongst us. I'm gonna throw this out in the air right quick because I don't really give a shit if that dude's in here or not. I'm gonna throw this one in the air right now. You know what they do with the worst cops over here, Lions? They either promote you out or they make you a school resource officer. That means that you become a school cop. No offense to a couple of my friends who were school resource officers. They weren't always bad, just mostly crappy, terrible cops who would basically result in people being unsafe if they were on the street. So where do they put them? Oh, to protect the children in the school, right? No offense to all the great school resource cops out there. I'm going to put a disclaimer out here. School resource officers are fine with me. Everybody's fine. Have a great day. Love you. It's no problem with cops. I don't have any problem with any particular line of work. Just want to say, yeah, the worst ones are usually they give them school resource officer jobs. Sorry. It's like Wine said, this is my intellectual property, so I can say what the hell I want, right? That's why I'm here. That's why I dealt with that whole process of monetization, so I can say what the hell I want. So yeah, that's what happens to the worst cops here, Lions. Boom. And if anybody else is a cop and I don't know you're a cop and you're a nice guy, let me know. Because I am aware of a couple in the community. You know, I am aware of them. Be like, I'm a cop and I'm nice. All right. Challenge my paradigm. Challenge my paradigm. I had a friend who was a lieutenant in a rural area that I lived in, and I played golf with him. True story. I went golfing with him, and he was dropping me off at home. I rode on in his cruiser on the way to the golf course. I couldn't play at the country club. He was a member. I wasn't, but he had a stable there with his golf cart and everything. And I played. I don't have nothing wrong with cops. I played a lot of golf too. You know, you meet some cops when you play golf. A lot of them like to play golf too. So I played a game of golf with this guy. You know, he was pretty good. It didn't matter how the game came out. I don't even remember. It was him and his dad, who used to be the local homicide investigator too. Played a game of golf with them, and on the way home, he told me the story about how these two felons were having a Thanksgiving dinner, and the one decided to let his girlfriend's sister come over for Thanksgiving, and then it turned into a dispute between the girlfriend's sister and the one that wanted him to his girlfriend, and it turned violent, and they both shot each other with shotguns. And I said, "Wow." On my way, this is on my way home from the golf course. This is Lieutenant that I play golf with. I said, "Wow, man!" And I am pro gun rights. Okay, that doesn't mean I'm conservative. That just means I'm pro gun rights. I said, "Wow, almost makes you think gun control is smart, right?" He was basically like, "Get the fuck out of my car." I never heard from him again. That one opinion, me expressing after he told me a horrific story about people shooting each other drunken. I said, hey, kind of makes you think almost they should consider gun control. Dude never spoke to me again. And he was one of the nicest cops I ever met. There you go. Just a little story for you. Got plenty of them, man. I got more in the docket if you all need some more stories. Yep, played golf, was friends with a cop. Played golf with him one day. He told me a story. I said one opinion that was just, God bless it. You sound like a snowflake. You just can't help it. I didn't even say it firmly. I said something like, kind of makes you wish. It was really soft. Really soft. That's one of the times I realized that politics will get you nowhere. Politics will get you nowhere. So much fat on these animals, man. Hopefully it makes the pelt softer because it's like it has the consistency of butter. It's really strange. I'm thinking maybe these legs should come off too. I don't want to spoil the whole pelt because some parts of the body will lose hair faster than others. And I don't want to spoil the rest of the pelt. I might do what's called rounding it off and taking the legs off. I get into this, man. I'll start doing it and go for hours. It's a fidgety kind of a thing. Benjamin Winkle, welcome from Daneland, from Danelaw. I heard your Viking theme yesterday. I played it for Heather. From the north of the Viking and the Thor and the Frigga and all that stuff. It's cool. I can't repeat it, but I did hear your theme song yesterday and I played it a couple times. I was getting into it. Yes, thank you, Ben. That's a very, very diplomatic answer. I got that Duke Ellington. Shout out to the Duke. He's dead, so I can't shout out to him. Duke Ellington. A Swinging Christmas. Is that what it is? No, it's a Nutcracker. It's the Nutcracker, man. That album is so good. If you don't have anything to listen to at Christmas time, I'm trying to get into that Christmas mood, man. Duke Ellington. Nutcracker. It's crazy. Good. Well, I got Wes's notification. All right, we'll pin this back up in a few minutes. I want to kind of dry it off too. Where did I set the other one to dry like this? Oh yeah, send it to me on Discord, man. All right, since I've been able to scrape well, I want to take this. This is a tanning pelt right here. This is a muskrat pelt. Oh wow, it smells good in there. Smells like woody, nutty in there. It's good. All right, so I'm gonna scrape this because this was a pelt I was having trouble scraping. It's been in the beginning stages of the tanning process. This is a muskrat, hair-on muskrat pelt. Some of y'all may have seen me throughout the process. Kind of messing with this pelt. It's been in tannin. This is only 1 day in the tannin, so it's kind of turned brown from a day in there. Also trying to maintain hair in this. Some I've noticed with this one though that it's fragile, man. You can put a hole in it easily. So we're gonna be careful. Sun dried? No. Not a kiln either. We use salts to dry it and air. And this right here has been in tannins, which are extracted from wood. I used acorn caps for these specifically. But this needs to be scudded here because it really wasn't scraped very well throughout its whole process in the drying, or when it was put into its pickle brine, it wasn't scraped very well. Now, what's cool about these muskrat pelts is they are waterproof. Like I saw a family of muskrats just this morning. There's a family of them on my running route, and all of them jumped in the water except for the eldest one, stayed out because it's not scared of me. All the youngest ones saw me and they jumped in the water and swam, and I was just thinking how great their fur is because it's freezing out there. So they're obviously insulated and the fur is waterproof. But I have found that these pellets, you got to be kind of careful because it seems like the skin is really soft. Like it's kind of fragile. It's flexible, but it's got some, like if it gets hit with anything sharp, and it looks like also they're quick to lose their hair. So the difference in what I'm doing and what's typically done is that you don't typically find people bark tanning hair on hides. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to keep the hair and still bark tan them. I'll brain tan and all that, but brain tanning is more like smoking. You're smoking the hide, right? That's the preservation process. The brain is not doing anything but moisturizing. You can use all kinds of oils to do that. I did save the brains from all these animals. Well, most of them. I didn't save the brains from the raccoons. That would be where rabies would be. We're not going to do that. This is a muskrat hide right here. If you don't know what a muskrat is, Google it. Take a look at what the animal looks like. I don't know if it's considered a rodent. I guess it is. It's large like a nutria. It's in the same family, I think, as groundhogs. Kind of like a fake me out beaver. Like do similar things to beavers, but they don't have the same kind of insulation and size as a beaver has. All these spots that are white now after I scraped it, when it goes back into the tannins, should reabsorb tannins, right? I have been losing hair on this hide too. I believe this is the hide that's losing hair. So I'm trying to get this into a more concentrated tannin bath and get it kind of get some tannin penetration. I think Benjamin said, Heather, do I have you on Discord? Probably, I would imagine. But I'll let Heather answer that question. All right, let me wring this out too. I want to wring the fluids out of this so it can absorb more tannins, right? This is 1 day. It was, if you would have seen it when it came out, that's 1 day in a mild tannin bath. So you don't want to start with a super strong tannin solution. It's going to go back in there. I'm going to scut the larger hides I have. Also, this is a raccoon hide that was in pretty poor condition. That just came out of the tannin liqueur right here. So this is the grain side on it right here. There's no hair on this one, or just on the edges. And then this is the suede side, or the flesh side. And I scraped this down yesterday and had good results, so I'm going to scrape it again. This is going to be mostly scrap leather because there's some imperfections with this piece here. So I'm keeping this in case we need scraps for something, some sort of interior or exterior piece that's not going to be super visible. It doesn't need to be large. Some holes in it and other imperfections. So I'm not expecting this to be a perfect piece. Small Woodlot Pat said, Calvin, when are you going to do your skunk cat? Well, I haven't found a skunk yet, man. And usually when they're hit by cars, you know, they're kind of hard to get out of that space. Like you can't get them unstinky. Probably trapping them, I guess, but I haven't gotten to that point yet. I don't think I need to do that. Yeah, you know, skunks are the second most valuable North American fur, believe it or not. Next to, I believe, a lynx. So, or bobcat, one of those two. For North America, that's the second most valuable fur, most valuable pet, the pelt, the one from the animal that stinks like that. There's other animals that have similar stink to them, though. I will tell you that. Muskrats have them like a gland in there, I believe, that makes them stink. I had to kind of cut that out. So Even like mule deer and some deer, like a rutting buck has a terrible smell too. I have a squirrel pelt too that probably needs to be scudded, and actually the leg parts, I kept the legs intact. They need to be cut so I can work the leather a little bit easier. All right, squeeze it out and back into the tannin solution. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate y'all. Getting close to 100 likes. Double tap that screen, like this video. My name's Calvin. This is Dad's Workshop. We've been doing a lot of animal processing. So I'm sorry and I'm not sorry at the same time. I know I have some members probably want me to do some more woodworking stuff. We'll get on to that. But right, tis the season. Literally, tis the season for this, because I'm not going to be doing this kind of stuff around summertime. First of all, it's not really legal to harvest animals then. But yeah, look at how the hair comes backwards through the pelt, through the grain side. Well, actually, no, that is the hair side. Never mind. What do I know? Talking nonsense. All right, so now we squeezed it out, released the moisture from it. Kind of has a chamois consistency here. We're going to put it back into the tannin solution. And I'm going to grab the next thing. I'm going to have to wring this one out here. All right, this is a young doe pelt here. This is the furthest along in the tanning process of any of the pieces that I have. So I'm going to squeeze this out and kind of show the camera, and then I'm going to scud this thing real aggressively. Now, let me let that flow in. What I've noticed with this pelt is the flesh side is very oily. Right? That's one of the problems that I've had with this pelt. Could have been how I processed it. Somebody asked me that question. Dill said, as if I've ever done alligator. The answer is no. And I do believe that the process is somewhat different. I was reading about it the other day. I think the skin is a different like material with reptiles. And so you have this issue, but I'm gonna look it up. You should be able to use tannins. But if you're trying to do an alligator, you want it to look like an alligator at the end of it, right? You don't want it to have like a color or a pigment change. So you have to find the lightest color tannins, probably maybe mimosa or some tannins from green persimmon. If you can get those together and use those tannins, you probably could use those on an alligator hide. Potentially any other green tannins, like galls, oak galls that are green. So in the summer, when the oak galls are made by the gall wasps, collect those. But I understand those are extremely high in tannins, so you actually can case lock your leather if you're not careful doing that. But good question. No, I've not done an alligator. Feel free to send me an alligator skin to do. Yeah, I think the are alligators reptiles or amphibians? They're reptiles, right? Sorry if that sounds stupid. Hope I answered your question. Y'all see that? That's what it looks like now. Oh yeah, that's not a great view on it there. That's the color we got from straight tree tannins, right? If you could feel it, it's thick too. Man, it feels so nice to the touch. This is kind of what got me into this one piece that I was working. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Crazy. Now I'm going to scut this and get rid of as much of this grease and fleshy stuff on the back as I can. It's not too bad here. But we want to take the grain side here. Yeah, well, you know, we kind of did that on here. I think you have me taking the deer. Well, yeah, we have started the whole process. So you got to watch the live, subscribe to the channel, become a member, Dill, you know. And some of my videos, because YouTube considers it questionable content because of the gore, I have to unmonetize them. So consider becoming a member so you can watch the private ones that I made private because YouTube said they were too edgy for advertisers. I don't know if there's any other hide tanning going on YouTube Live. So it's a niche, I think. This smells really good. It has a slight fermentation smell to it because I use Bradford pears in this concoction. That's another fruit you could probably use that doesn't have a lot of color. So if you're doing an animal like alligator, or you're trying to avoid using any color and you're getting as much color out of your tannins, because tannins can be clear too, or very light colored. Generally, they're like a dark cherry and dark brownish red, but they can be lighter, like green persimmons and gall wasp galls are from oak galls. I used to collect those for woodwork actually until they all hatched in my wood pile, and I had all these gall wasps running all over my expensive wood. After that, I put the kibosh on that. No more oak galls. Yeah, well, welcome. Thanks for being here. I don't mind new. I like new, old and new. All kinds of people here, old and new. Of course, according to my demographics, mostly old, but we like new people too. I have had some issues with the hair, like retreating backward through this hide. So some of the hair that I couldn't get off, and this hide I actually put through a lye bath to try to remove the hair. Because I initially tried to keep it and it was losing so much, I ended up pulling it. I think I did that on a live stream also. So this like hair coming through the back happened at some point with the chemical processes that were going on with the hide. It must have made the follicle pull or like open and then close, and it kind of like a quill from a porcupine. It just started moving backward through the hide. So what I got to do with this is I got to find a way to remove those. I tried something the other day, which worked, so I'll just stick with that. Actually, Heather did a lot of the skinning on this one too. It was her very first time she'd ever done anything like that. She did a pretty good job. Hey, double tap that screen. My name's Calvin. This is Dad's Workshop. Right now, we're kind of scraping the suede side of a piece of deer skin here that's almost done with its tanning process. This one here, it's been through the whole. It's been in the tannin solution for like a month. I'll check it. I say almost done because it feels and seems like it is. It's thick. It's heavy. The tannins have added weight to it and body, which is what we want. I've added some really strong tannins recently. Hopefully those have penetrated into the hide. So what you want is you want it to penetrate fully all the way through the hide for full preservation. It's going to keep insects off of it. It's going to keep it protected. Basically, you have a piece of fabric that can be machine washed is very strong, very warm. You know, you can't machine wash chrome tanned leather. The leather you buy from the store generally, unless it's the most expensive stuff, and there are still a couple bark tanneries that exist in the United States. Not many though. Y'all see how it gets that suede-ish feel to it when you get it down to the down past the lumpy flesh stuff on this section. That's kind of what you want, man, you know. Scraping these edges out, kind of like the seams too. They want to roll in, you know. All right, flipper, make sure that you got the other side kind of done. This bone that I'm scraping this hide came from this deer. So my scraping tool that I'm using to actually scrape this down to a suede here came from this deer that I'm processing right now. Arrgh. All righty, guys, getting to the end of this hide here, and this is kind of like my agenda on this part of my tanning today. I don't put everybody through my whole procedure, though I probably could be selfish and just put you all just do this all day long and take up all the airspace, but I won't do that. I saw some folks went live. I don't want to interrupt their spoon making or whatever it is they're doing. That's not my goal. So I will finish this hide right here, right around where this hole is. I noticed yesterday I've been hesitating scraping it, right? So then stuff built up around where the hole is because I didn't want to rip the hole further open. But yesterday I realized the only way I'm going to be able to clean that spot up is if I stop being shy with it and scrape around that area. Not made of glass is something I learned in the last couple of days. You got to actually be a little more aggressive when you scrape these things than you probably think. And all of the stuff that if you're learning this process, everything that you hear, all the perfection you hear from the channels that you watch is not necessary. It's not paint by numbers. There's a lot of different ways of approaching it. That's why I like it a little bit right now. I'm favoring this over woodwork because woodwork is so Apollonian and just procedural. I got my boards and I'm putting them through the jig and I'm putting, oh my God, man. Y'all saw me do that very, very slow woodwork for a year and a half. So I mean, if everybody's like missing woodwork, there's 350 live streams on my channel that you can check out at any time. You know what I mean? Yeah, snakeskin is complicated too. I think it may not be a collagen-based solution. Maybe more of a keratin. You know, like what your fingernails are made of, rather than what your skin is made of, which is collagen, right? Leather, like this now, has become a compound organic material. Tannins or tannic acid and collagen or skin, right, have formed this. Now we have a compound organic material rather than commercial leather, which is made with chemicals, and you have a lot of different chemicals going on. It's not just collagen and tannins. You've got collagen and chromium and alum and all these different sodium hydroxide lye, calcium hydroxide lye, acetyl alcohol, all the different things that you all love. Don't they sound delicious? So put them on your skin, right? Let the buyer beware. Calvin's not doing barbaric stuff, guys. Calvin's doing stuff the old way. That's what I always do, man. Expect this more. And if you expect me to do something, expect the unexpected, because I'm going to take a pivot whenever I feel like it. That's how it's going to work on here. Appreciate everybody, though, you know, and I'm going to keep being, I'm still in this community and I'm still going to do woodwork. I made my box the other day, though, and like I was like, okay, cool box. It's all right, you know. I guess I'll send it out to somebody. Send some Christmas gifts out to folks I got a giveaway I'm going to do. But right now, man, I'm just having fun doing what I'm doing. And that's how I'm going to roll. I'm not going to stop doing that, you know. Yeah, they use dyes as well. Commercial, usually metallic based dyes too. So you have another metal that's heavy metal that's being added to it. Yeah, heavy dyes. Thank you. That's a good point. Also, you're from India too, Rumpelstiltskin, down there in Mumbai, in the I believe it's Mumbai, where they have all the tanneries, the tannery district. It's like the most poor district of Mumbai. It's horrible down there. And they're doing it the fast way. Now, the problem is that in India and Pakistan, it's actually cheaper to use human labor than to use machines. That's how cheap humans have become. We don't value each other, and that's why our clothes are made where sweatshops are, things like that. It's time to stop doing that, man, and start living a better quality life by making things yourself and appreciating the things you have. You don't need more cheaper. You need less quality. That's my opinion, and you're going to get my opinion on my intellectual property, as my friend Lion says. It's my intellectual property, so I say what the hell I want because I want to, and that's how it is. And that's why I'm not standing in the classroom working for a school system anymore. Appreciate everybody for being here. Love all of you. Yeah, there you go. Rumpelstiltskin said he's in Bangalore. Yeah, down south is Mumbai, I believe. So, yeah. So, appreciate everybody being here. Everybody have a great day. My name is Calvin. This is Dad's Workshop. We'll get back to doing wood and stuff like that. But look how beautiful that is, man. How beautiful that is. Oh, thank you, Ben. Thanks for being here. Benjamin Winkle, friend of the program. Check out his channel. Check out Wes Does It or Mike is Making Stuff. Or check out all these other folks. Also, Small Woodlot Pat and Lions Fix It Shop. Check those places out. Those are good spots to be too. Everybody, appreciate Plywood. I think Pilato popped in. Thanks, Duck is Purple, for popping in, and all the new folks that came through. Good story by Small Woodlot about the deer. Cool. Thanks, Guy Sarenko, for your tips. Thanks to everybody. Everybody have a great day. This is Calvin. Do the next right thing. We're out of here.